I knew this content nuke was going to draw a lot of negative attention, seeing how extreme Hassan and his fan base are and his orbiters. But the lengths to which they've gone to harass us and get revenge for going after their god king Hassan has frankly gone beyond any type of point of civility and humanity, to the point where they're calling CPS, Child Protective Services, to come to our house and break up our family. On Friday morning, an agent showed up to our house saying that they had received an anonymous tip that our children were crawling around in dog shit, eating dog shit, and contracting diseases. Not only have they called CPS on us, now they're starting to try to call in a 5150 to get me committed.
You know, I've been on the internet.com for a very long time. I've seen a lot of bad things, a lot of bad behavior, and a lot of it is related to politics, and disproportionately, it appears to come from the left-wing side. We all know that they are known for the circular firing squad. They are known for attacking each other, canceling each other, going after each other personally, and of course, for committing acts of violence and destruction over minor political differences. That being said, what has happened to Ethan, as he has recently reported, feels like it's on another level, and in the last couple of years, I don't think I've ever seen something nearly this bad. Maybe it's not the all-time leader, but it's definitely up there, as Ethan Klein's children being targeted by Cenk's Nephew's fans over their minor petty disagreements about the nation of Israel and the Palestinian question. Now, we're going to break this down, we're going to talk about this, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
The thing is, once you target my children, then a line's been crossed that cannot be walked back. Once my kids are involved, when people are targeting my children, harassing my children, there's no length that I won't go to take care of this. And I think that's something that every parent can relate to. All these people, incidentally, who are promoting this type of insanity are, in fact, childless and will likely remain that way. The CPS agent showed up and he started asking us all kinds of questions like, who feeds the kids? Who takes care of the kids? What do you do to the kids when you get angry? How do the kids sleep? Do the kids have toys? Is that what happens when you get mad, or what happens when your kids get mad? He walked around the house. He looked in our refrigerator. He walked all around looking for dog shit, apparently, although when he showed up immediately, he said, wow, this place is clean. Our 3- and 5-year-old boys were at school. Our 8-month-old is upstairs sleeping when he visits, and he says, I need to go upstairs and look at your infant visibly to see him and confirm he's okay. Well, he's napping in his crib. He goes upstairs to look around the house, to snoop around. He investigates Sonny, our youngest, wakes him up from his nap.
So as you just saw right there, Ethan Klein was subject to yet another humiliation ritual at the hand of the so-called Palestinian activists who are targeting Ethan Klein not because he's pro-Israel in any sense, but because he won't endorse the wholesale massacre of Jews in Israel, which is his actual dispute, his actual issue that he had with Cenk's nephew that basically set this whole thing off. If you guys will recall, they did a podcast about Israel and Hamas post the October 7th attacks, and during the course of that podcast, Ethan Klein very quickly condemned anyone and everyone who said anything questionable or possibly racist about Arabs or Islamophobic or anything of the sort, and then he asked Cenk's nephew to call out specific individuals who were endorsing the massacres on civilians. Now, of course, this is where the infamous "there are baby settlers" comment ends up coming in.
Palestinians have the legal ground to violently seize back their own homes from these settlers. This is a reality, and that is precisely the reason why they have to exist under endless occupation in the West Bank.
You know what? And that's why I say, if it was settlers, that would be a lot more understandable. Yeah. But let's not obfuscate, okay? I understand what you're saying. But this dude just called babies militants.
No, I understand. And there are baby settlers as well. But there are baby settlers as well. There are babies in the settlements.
But if you'll remember, the core of this was Ethan playing clips of people endorsing specific aspects of the terror attacks on civilians, like Second Thought, who is a friend of Cenk's nephew, and essentially saying it is 100% justified to kill anyone in Israel if they are a Jew, because they are occupiers, therefore they are deserving of death.
It's a super chat.
Did the Palestinians actually take civilian hostage, or is that fake news? I don't care.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he agrees with him, so let's just
go on.
Clip.
The occupiers are not civilians. That is what it comes down to. Like if Germany, let's say Germany to be non-controversial.
That's him, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Controversial.
And not that it matters.
United States, and they said, you know what, Cincinnati, Ohio is our ancestral home, and everyone knows that's blatantly false. But they take your home, they murder your grandma, they bulldoze like your neighbor's house. Are those people civilians there? No, they're occupiers, and those are criminals. That is, there are no civilians there.
So according to Second Thought, he says that every Israeli is an occupier, and there are no citizens there.
I know, but
here's one.
No, of course there are examples of this. It's just entirely and utterly inconsequential, and I 100% stand by that.
It's not. He's an influential man. When you're expressing these kinds of...
Okay, let's walk through that. What do you think is the negative consequence of this? Do you think that people are going to see this and go, oh, I should go to a...
So should I not care about it?
I think that if you look at the reality, and I know you recognize it, a YouTuber saying this kind of thing and spending any time or any effort on this, when your moral position is clear, when mine is clear, spending any time on this whatsoever to be like, we got to clean up our own homes here, deviates from the actual message that must be unflinching. The message is that these violent means of ensuring that the occupation continues is going to inevitably lead to more violence that Israelis will be subjected to as well.
Now, it is important for you guys to understand that Ethan is incredibly pro-Palestinian. He is incredibly anti-Israel. It's just that he wouldn't endorse, and he expects Cenk's nephew to condemn people who do endorse the wholesale massacre of Jews in Israel. And part of the reason why is that Ethan actually lived in Israel for 5 years. His wife is from Israel. He still has family in Israel. And obviously, the endorsement of any Jew being murdered on Israeli soil would include his family members, his in-laws, or even himself if he was living there, and he finds that to be a ridiculous proposition. However, Cenk's nephew dodged this. He ended up saying, oh, well, this has no impact at all whatsoever, and who cares if Second Thought has a platform with multiple million subscribers? That's nothing that's really should be concerning to you, because he has no influence and no power, and it's nothing to worry about. Now, again, this is after Ethan condemned every single random person in New York City and other places that would show images of Gaza as a parking lot or something of the sort, regardless of the fact that those random individuals have no power and no influence on the particular conflict. So Cenk's nephew was making it clear that he won't condemn anyone who says anything, no matter how crazy, because, spoiler alert, he agrees with that. He agrees with this oppressor dynamic. He said repeatedly that resistance to apartheid is often imperfect, so he is tacitly endorsing that, sometimes directly endorsing it through the direct endorsement of terror organizations, and that is what caused Ethan Klein to split from Cenk's nephew. It is not that Ethan Klein is super pro-Israel or is a Zionist or anything of the sort. It's that he had 98% agreement instead of 100% agreement, and therefore he has been cast out and condemned as this horrible bigot. And of course, we know about the content nuke. We know about all these other different things as Ethan has learned what these people are doing to him, what they're doing to his family. And now, in response to the content nuke, Cenk's nephew, of course, is not going to watch it. He's not going to actually try to contradict any of the information in it. He's not going to actually show you if anything was taken out of context. Instead, he and his buddies, he and his group, he and his fan base have decided to target Ethan Klein's children, to call CPS on Ethan Klein's children, and we're going to see throughout the course of this video, Cenk's nephew endorsing and playing segments where they talk about the supposed abuses against Ethan Klein's children, which, by the way, are obviously false.
The immediate question for me was, who did this, and how am I going to hold them accountable? It didn't take me long to catch the trail of the obvious suspect, which is the work of a subreddit dedicated to harassing me, my family, my coworkers, and their families too, frankly, known as Snark. H3 Snark is the place that they originated. If you don't know what Snark is, it's this growing phenomenon of communities dedicated essentially to destroy someone's life, picking it apart, harassing them, and just trying to ruin their life. It's something that's become quite common on the internet, and something that Reddit, who is the main host of such activities, has completely turned a blind eye to. Take, for example, right here, H3H3_, which is the new Snark page. The top post on this page is from somebody named Bad Empanada, which we'll learn more about. It says, Bad Empanada with another banger. Quote, "You're the best parents I've ever seen," said house slave Abdullah Ayad to the Kleins after CPS visited them because their kids contracted parasites from dog feces. The Kleins frequently advocate for genocide of Arabs while Ayad sits obediently in silence. He is a tame domestic animal. This is just literally, anyone of a normal disposition can see plainly how f***ing insane this is. It has 400 upvotes after 3 hours. It's a very active sub of absolutely deranged individuals.
Now, in addition to the individuals that Ethan Klein is going to call out for targeting his children, for sending CPS government agents to harass his family, he also brings up something called the H3 Snark Reddit. And as somebody who's not really all that familiar with Reddit, I don't really know anything beyond what Ethan is explaining and some quick research into what Snark Reddits are. But essentially, he makes the case that this particular Reddit has a bunch of crossover from Cenk's Nephew's Reddit, from people in his own audience, and they're basically staging and encouraging people to dox his family, to call CPS on them, and all these different other various things. And of course, he has a clip of Cenk's nephew reacting to him, calling it out.
The problem is that this subreddit, this community, is being legitimized by creators such as Hassan, such as Denims, such as Mike from PA, and all these leftist commentators who think they can get one up on me by sicking and participating and legitimizing the most crazed psychopaths on the internet.
I bring this to YouTube because I respect the H3 Snark, and I believe that they're being silenced. And I saw on the H3 Snark that Ethan had uploaded Instagram stories about Mika's rhetoric that says...
And it's about the H3 Snark subreddit. For more than a year now, Ethan has been talking about it and saying how toxic this place is, how they promote harassment, doxing, stalking, and why it should be banned.
Because I believe these Snark subreddits on Reddit should be banned. It's literally fostering the most psychopathic. It encourages harassment, doxing, stalking. It's just...
Cenk's nephew does the reaction for the sole purpose of driving more traffic to that particular Reddit, and he thinks it's a joke because, again, Ethan dared disagree with him 1% on the idea that all the Jews should be wiped out from Israel. Therefore, he's absolute scum and worthy of all manner of attacks, no matter how ridiculous and over the top they are.
Here, for example, is Denims, aka Hassan Waiting Room, watching Bad Empanada talk about the state of our house and how we take care of our kids. Let's take a look.
He lets his dogs shit all over his mansion, and he just leaves the shit on the floor, something that is probably related to the fact that his former housekeeper is suing him for a number of different reasons. So I would assume he doesn't actually have a housekeeper anymore, or perhaps he lost his extra housekeeper. So now the house is just like covered in dog shit, and he has kids, and his kids like crawl into the dog, and God forbid, I don't know what they do with it. I don't know if they eat it or if it's just from like contact with it with their hands or something, but they contracted a parasite that I had previously never heard of in my life called Giardia from the dog that is all over his house.
Dude, how is it that like maybe once a week I look into what Ethan Klein's been up to, and every time I manage to find more and more terrible shit. This is where Ethan tells a story about his family getting Giardia.
We already have Mold Mondays. Now we have Saturdays.
Also, this is not a joking matter, by the way. It can be very severe and deadly to small children. I mean, much like many other illnesses, it's very, very, very dangerous when infants get the same sicknesses that adults get. There are lots of things that you can get as an adult. You're totally fine. You'll be A-okay. No problem. A child, a small infant that has no immune system, shouldn't be catching anything.
Now, for those of you who are listening to this via podcast, Ethan has captioned this particular video clip with a date indicating that it was actually 2 days prior to CPS being called on his family, which of course ended up leading to the agent showing up in order to investigate these claims. And of course, you have this Denims chick who is a Cenk's nephew orbiter, who is a pro-Hamas, pro-terrorist propagandist, who hates Ethan Klein, who has been smearing him as well, again, in order to ingratiate herself amongst Cenk's nephew's overlord's community. And she is just laughing and making these dumb faces that are obviously posing for the camera as she's airing these completely false allegations on her particular stream, again, to a wider audience. All of these different people amplify all this different stuff, and then they exaggerate and add more to it. And of course, this is what ultimately ended up leading to CPS visiting Ethan in order to have an intrusive investigation into his life, because supposedly people are under the impression that Ethan Klein is not taking care of his children.
Now, at this point, as he continues, notice the chat is almost in complete universal agreement. Call CPS. Call child endangerment. CPS, social services. Bro needs to unironically call CPS. That's child endangerment. Okay, if his kids have Giardia, they need to be taken away. Actual worst father ever, etc., etc. I'll let the chat play for you, but you can see just how crazed this community is. And once again, this is Denim's chat from the call came on the 3rd.
No wonder his house is covered in dog, and his neglected children raised by nannies have contracted parasites previously unknown to science from the feces. I wonder why he skipped over all of this, because everything that I said in this story, which by the way was apparently compiled by his crew,
no wonder this mother is always sick. Yeah, it all makes sense now.
Now, obviously, Ethan is livid about this, and rightfully so. And again, it is very important for you guys to understand that all of these people know what they're doing, they know what they're encouraging, they know that they're lying, and they're doing it on purpose, all because Ethan Klein dareth not endorse a massacre of his wife's countrymen. I mean, just think about how insane that is.
It makes sense why he doesn't care about Palestinian children when he is neglecting his own. How is this happening? How is it happening? How is this happening?
I have a 10-month-old, a 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old who are in school. Of course I'm sick all the time. Once again, these childless people pretend that this is uncommon when, of course, anybody with any sense who's being honest. The thing is, these people are knowingly lying. They know that they're lying. It makes no sense what they're saying, but they do it anyway. Because, as you can see in the chat, and Denims endorses this clearly, as you can see, she's not moderating this at all. And it's pretty much 100% of the comments saying call CPS on them. Their kids should be taken away. That she believes that it's justified to break up our family. This disgusting fucking human being who's endorsed by Hassan and the entire left community on Twitch, who is protected and elevated by Twitch, is on her platform right now advocating for our children to be forcibly removed from us by Child Protective Services.
Now, Ethan goes into this whole explanation of how he talked about his dog having this kind of parasite in its particular body, and how he was worried because the dog was actually using the bathroom over his place, that maybe, just maybe, his child had come into contact with it and contracted the parasite because his child was having diarrhea at the same time. Now, of course, Ethan clarified later that they actually did the test. He took his kid to the doctor, and what they ultimately ended up discovering was it was just his kid reacting to solid food for the first time because it was in and around 10 months old, and this was not the case. And everybody understands this was not the case. Everyone understands that Ethan Klein on his comedy podcast was exaggerating how much his dog was crapping everywhere.
Is that Giardia can actually be spread just from a surface. So if her bum ends up on the floor, or she sheds some hair, or she sat on a toy, it could be a number of different things. If Sonny's crawling around putting everything in his mouth, it seems like a pretty reasonable suspect. If he's having diarrhea, we're like, oh man, maybe he got Giardia from Olive, which is actually commonplace to happen. And despite what Denim says, it is not certain death. It's actually completely normal to happen, and it's very easy to treat. Now, spoiler alert, it actually turns out when we got all of the poop tests back that he never had Giardia even, which I announced on the show, which they conveniently forget. So the only person that ever even had Giardia was Olive. So Sonny was having diarrhea essentially, and that's why they called CPS. Because my 10-month-old baby, who's just starting to eat solid food, had diarrhea.
And everybody understands Ethan's initial concern about his kid having diarrhea at the same time that the dog had diarrhea, and of course that Ethan would follow through by taking his kid to the doctor, which of course he did, only to find out that that is not the case. And again, this was the basis of what they ended up using to call CPS, and wouldn't you know it, portions of this particular story about the dog and Ethan's concern were what was repeated by Bad Empanada, showed by Denims, and all these different other various people in order to put the idea out there that Ethan's baby has a deadly parasite from a dog because Ethan's letting it crawl around in dog poop all over the house, which obviously is absurd, obviously is ridiculous. Everybody understands that. Why would he do that and then admit to that on the podcast? Makes no sense at all, but these people think it's funny to target Ethan's family, probably because they think that Ethan's little 10-month-old baby is a baby settler and deserving of much worse than being ripped away from him. But that's where these people are legitimately at in terms of what they value, what they believe is acceptable based on political disagreements. Now, I will also point out that there is an irony that Ethan Klein, the Jewish person in this scenario, is trying to, or was trying to, meet the pro-Palestinian side 98% of the way, but based on that 2% disagreement, these people just want to wipe him off the internet, destroy his life in every capacity, and are willing to target his children to do so. It's almost as if that parallels a long-standing conflict that I just can't think of at this moment in time, but maybe, just maybe, I'm stretching a bit there.
That's why these people think it's justified to send an agent of one of the most overworked, underfunded, underappreciated community service workers in the entire world to come and waste their time because my son had a diarrhea.
So this is an obvious yet crucial point made by Ethan Klein that I want to extrapolate on just a little bit more, which is when you launch a fraudulent investigation with Child Protective Services, you're wasting time, energy, and resources that could go to actually secure a child that is actually being abused. Because it's not like these people show up to Ethan Klein's house. Ethan Klein says, oh, those are some internet weirdos from Reddit that are angry about a 1% or 2% disagreement on the Palestinian issue, and the guy says, okay, I believe you, and then they move along. No, they have to go through the rudimentary stages of the investigation, at least to get some level of clearance, before they can stop observing Ethan and his wife. And while they're doing that, while that agent is wasting his time at Ethan's house, there is other children that have more serious cases that they are not getting to because, again, the resources for CPS are not unlimited.
I'd like to pay tribute to Ethan Klein and the new Twitch TOS that declares Zionism. Zion is a slur. I'd like to pay tribute to him by playing the first in Al-Aqsa video game where you kill Zionist soldiers as a Palestinian resistance fighter. Anyways, are these Israelis? They're just standing there? I mean, is the Israeli army a bunch of Ethan Kleins? Like, they're all on a fucking Ozempic binge? They don't understand what's going on around them? They haven't noticed me? How do I win? What's my objective? I don't actually know. Where do they keep the secretaries? In here? I'm hunting for secretaries right now.
Now, Ethan also shows us this clip of Bad Empanada playing this Hamas video game where you kill IDF people in said game, and during the time that he's playing the game, he's saying that he's fantasizing about killing Ethan Klein and his wife and his family, and I just want you guys to understand that this is a person that has been repeatedly signal boosted by Cenk's nephew, by Denims, and again, is one of the people who's taking credit for calling CPS on Ethan because he endorses genocide by not wanting Jews to be genocided. That's the same thing in Bad Empanada's mind. Therefore, all of these actions are completely justified. And again, it's absolutely crazy that these people time and time again promote people that push violence like this, but when you realize that it's intentional, they don't care, it's not a bug, it's a feature, you tend to understand it.
Saying, I'm the one who called CPS on Ethan Klein. I want CPS to take his kids away because they are seriously in danger. This is, once again, Bad Empanada, who's being elevated by Hassan, Matt Lieb, Denims, and tons of creators, leftist creators, all over the internet.
Ladies and gentlemen, everyone else, please welcome Bad Empanada.
Bad Empanada's been going crazy at Ethan on the second channel. Well, yeah, because Ethan Klein is too afraid to talk to Bad Empanada or talk about Bad Empanada or watch any of his videos. So fucking milk that guy, dude. Hell yeah, Bad Empanada, go in.
Turk versus moron. He made a fucking Willie Mac show. Slob YouTuber Willie Mac show made a video covering the Gaza genocide because he noticed that putting Hassan's name in the title gets him more views than usual. It went about as well as you'd expect. Oh, dude. Okay. Critical support to Bad Empanada has gone up by wide margins now. Okay. Oh, this is on the Bad Empanada live channel. He didn't put this on the normal channel. Oh, my Lord. Oh, dude. Bad Empanada went from bad to good Empanada. Bad Empanada went from Bad Empanada to based Empanada.
So look, obviously Ethan shows the endorsement from all these different various streamers of Bad Empanada, and again, they all knew this about him. They knew he was an extremist. They knew he was somebody who was harassing Ethan. They knew he was somebody who obviously wants the Jews in Israel wiped out because colonizers and, oh my god, supremacy and all that other nonsense. But one of the clips that I think is absolutely crucial for you guys out there in the audience to see is this clip of Denims essentially excusing, after CPS was called, the actions that were taken by people that she enabled, that she promoted, that she rooted on, along with Cenk's nephew, along with their audiences, and Bad Empanada.
But don't worry, guys. Denim says, even if this did happen, it's nothing to worry about, because children actually don't remember anything. Isn't that fucking awesome? Look at this. It might be the dumbest, most pathetic thing I've ever heard in my life. Here's Denims.
On the floor. And then the part that, in my opinion, crossed the line was like, so I'm going to visit your kids at school and ask them questions. And I says, you're not doing that.
No,
I mean, we both were like, that's not happening. You're not going.
Terrifying.
You are not doing that. So he agreed to come visit our house
next week
when the kids are at home because he needs to interview our kids as a matter of procedure.
But I was like, I really don't want you to
create any bad memory here for them. Like, they are 5 and 3. They don't understand this. So I told him,
create any bad memory for them. You're not forming memories at 3 years old, and it's very rare that you're forming memories at 5 years old.
So look, obviously Ethan and Hila are upset about this investigation that is quite intrusive into their lives and the potential traumatic impact that it would have on their children. However, Denims takes a very weird tact against these allegations by saying, oh, don't worry about it. Children don't form memories at this moment in time in their lives, so it's no big deal, nothing to worry about. Now, of course, she goes on to look up something to find out that that is not the case, that is not true, but then even though she's proven wrong, she doubles down on the premise.
Yes, you are. No, you're not. When we're talking about being able to remember, being able to recall memories, it's like 4 is the cutoff, but even if you are forming any memories at 4, you're not going to be able to remember them past like 15. You have maybe 1 or 2 memories. Talking to a random stranger once isn't really memorable for a kid. There's a wide variation about the mean across methods, cohorts. The average age of adults' earliest memories is 3.5 years old. You're not really forming memories at 3.
You literally just read out of your mouth that the average adult starts forming memories at 3. What is happening? What universe do we exist in where this is a popular creator? One more time, guys, because it's absolutely unreal. One more time, guys.
There's a wide variation about the mean across methods, cohorts. The average age of adults' earliest memories is 3.5 years old. You're not really forming memories at 3. And it's pretty rare to be forming memories or like memories that you will keep like at 5.
Now, why is she doing that? Why is she going out of her way to say, don't worry, the kids aren't going to have any memories? It's not because she cares about the kids. It's because there's some elements of the people in her audience that know this is wrong, that they feel like, even though they think Ethan and Hila are evil, that they're somehow pro-genocide, even though they're nothing of the sort, even though they're quite anti-Israeli, they still understand that the children at this age are innocent, and it's actually really messed up to do this to them based on political disagreements. So what Denims is trying to do is nerf that, take away that little attachment of humanity that people have to those children in one of the most obvious dehumanization operations that you can possibly see. It is so blatant. The one thing that people can mostly agree on is that children are innocent and their innocence should be protected. However, she's telling these people what they need to hear in order to continue harassing Ethan rather than encouraging them to stop. This is absolutely disgusting behavior from top to bottom. This is absurd. This is ridiculous. And make no mistake about it, the goal, action, and intent are to encourage more harassment, more problems for Ethan and his family, not fewer problems. Now look, I will link Ethan's entire video in the description of this video if you want to hear about all of this stuff in more detail, but this is where I'm going to leave it because, again, these people have just crossed the line after crossing the line before, and they will continue to cross the line going forward because there is no bottom to that barrel. They're that disgusting. They're that nasty. They're that terrible. This is who they are, and this is what they believe is acceptable based, again, on 1 to 2% disagreement. Now, of course, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you like the video shown by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about Ethan's children being harassed. Till next time.